I applaud Vincent Kompany. I think that he won the Bundesliga in his first year, got them kind of back to where they think that they belong, right? At the top of the Bundesliga, where they dominated for over a decade until Leverkusen broke that. Got back to that, won their trophy. Now it's time to take the next step for Vincent Kompany.
In that second goal of the match with an 11-9 deficit. I mean, down 2 men, and PSG were able to find the goal that really gave them a little bit more breathing room. It was a really, really impressive event for them. And it's not surprising that PSG are the ones that are moving on, but maybe what was a little bit of a stunner is at the beginning of the match, this really did seem like Bayern's to lose. They came out on the front foot from the very beginning. Unfortunately, the injury seemed to change things, though, going into the break.
Definitely. Bayern really did figure out in that first 45 minutes what no European team has been able to figure out with PSG is how to stop them from being completely sealed in the back, because PSG will let you have the ball, and they know that their midfield will press and continue to keep you behind. If you're trying to play the ball out of the back, they're going to make your day very difficult. So they felt good going into that into halftime, but then the injury happens to Jamal Musiala, and you can just tell it affected these players to no end, because in the second half it was a different Bayern Munich side, and you see the reaction from the players on the pitch. It's obviously poor timing, because Jamal Musiala just missed a ton of games to finish the season over in Europe. Then comes into this tournament better, but not 100%. Playing these games that, again, in a normal year, these games, Club World Cup, wouldn't be happening. He'd be rehabbing. He decides, obviously playing, did suffer an injury against Benfica earlier in the tournament, but nothing too serious. But eventually, it was going to happen, because it's just, when you're trying to rehab from an injury that you can't fully get to 100%, especially with a hamstring injury and things that you've had, it opens you up to get more serious injuries moving forward. And it happened to him. It's a shame, and it really does change the projection of this Bayern side if he's not able to start the season with Bayern at the beginning of the Bundesliga season.
It affected everyone on the pitch. It affected everyone inside Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and also his Bayern Munich co-star and teammate, Canadian international Alphonso Davies, who was live streaming while he was watching it, clearly visibly shaken up, missing 71 days with a hamstring injury, was back June 15th, finally got his first start. But these are major injuries, and this makes you wonder going forward, how does this impact Jamal Musiala, not only as a player, but also a person?
It's tough. It's difficult, and he's obviously someone who, we're talking about the new era of attacking players in Europe, and one of the top attacking players in Europe, and for the German national team as well. But if you see the reaction there from Alphonso Davies, he's just watching on stream. So if you see his reaction, you can imagine what it was in the locker room at halftime. When Musiala goes in, they know that he's out. They know he's going to be out for maybe quite some time here. How do those players pick themselves up and go win a match? It was difficult. So if you see the reaction from Alphonso, and you know that same exact thing was happening in the locker room at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and it was definitely something difficult for this team to have to try to pick themselves up. And it was different. It wasn't the same Bayern team in that second half that we saw in the first 45 minutes that really was the better side through 45. Second half, it wasn't the same, and it's difficult to avoid any type of impact from seeing one of your best teammates and good friends as well. Remember, these players spend so much time with each other. It's like another family. You see them go down like that, it's difficult, and they did not recover.
I don't think there's any question that it impacted the match, and it impacted the way that they were able to play under Vincent Kompany. But tactically, throughout that second half, we saw the masterclass of Luis Enrique changing things up, really making sure that his team were the ones that came out on top. And by the end of it, it was a deserved win. Vincent Kompany's 39 years old, and this is a very different challenge for him going to Bayern Munich, because the expectations, as you know, Stefano, are sky high. How did they grow under Kompany in the Club World Cup?
I think there is definitely some positives to take from this tournament. I think maybe they were looked at as a dark horse team coming into this tournament to maybe being able to get to the final and maybe even lift a trophy. Obviously, it didn't happen this way, but you did see some growth. I thought that first 45 minutes was a masterclass from Vincent Kompany. Like I said, this is a PSG side that will suffocate you, that will press you to no end, that their midfield will not allow you to come through and play out of the back. And Bayern figured out a way to do that. They were moving onto the flanks. They were able to hit on a couple of long balls down the flanks to kind of alleviate that pressure from PSG. So I applaud Vincent Kompany. I think that he won the Bundesliga in his first year, got them kind of back to where they think that they belong, right? At the top of the Bundesliga, where they dominated for over a decade until Leverkusen broke that. Got back to that, won their trophy. Now it's time to take the next step for Vincent Kompany. He's shown that he can do it in Bundesliga. Now, can you take this team to have European success? We don't know that about Vincent Kompany yet, but this was a good sign. To have that success in the first 45 against PSG, in my opinion, really gives me a little more confidence looking at Vincent Kompany that he knows how he needs to set his team up and what tactics he needs to use in different games. So I do applaud him for that and give Bayern some cautious optimism moving into the season, and you see that your manager is able to do certain things like this.
Good opportunities from Michael Olise and Harry Kane. They're going to continue to be very difficult down the stretch. But our CBS soccer correspondent, Felipe Cardenas, was down there in Atlanta. Here's his take on what we saw between PSG and Bayern.
So, I think we saw two of the best teams in this tournament, and certainly the best team in the world in Paris Saint-Germain. I think they really proved today against a very, very good opponent, an opponent that I think they really, really respect, that they are the team to beat at this Club World Cup, that the current European champions showing their quality down to 9 men and still able to get that second goal to really put it away. I don't think it was the sharpest game, though, for PSG. They've been better at this tournament, but they showed, I think, another side today, a bit of a more grit. They showed some like a steely attitude to stay in this game, even when Bayern Munich were, I think, the aggressors throughout the night, the stronger side. It just really came down to a few moments. And Désiré, a player that I think will be a future superstar, getting that late goal that looked like the winner until Ousmane Dembélé put the game on ice in stoppage time. So PSG leaving Atlanta after over a week, 2 games here at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in the AC. They are on to the semifinals at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey.
Well, we certainly know that PSG is going to be formidable against anyone in the semis, and they're going to have a huge crowd as well for them at MetLife Stadium because this is one of the top teams in the world right now. They are special in so many different ways because attacking-wise, look at this lineup. You've got Kvaratskhelia, you've got Doué, Barcola, and that's not even including Dembélé, who starts on the bench now because, he's coming off of that injury. What makes them so good? Because they showed today that even with their best match, they are still able to effectively beat one of the best teams in the world as well as themselves.
I think there's a couple of things. First of all, obviously their depth is massive. When you're able to have Dembélé, who's the Ballon d'Or favorite, on the bench in a quarterfinal, that's usually pretty good. That midfield as well, what they have been able to do with Fabian Ruiz, with Vitinha in that midfield, they're fantastic. But for me, what makes them the most special, and we saw that today, is their diversity in ways to win. They don't just do it in one specific style. For so long, they, you talked about this incredible attack, and this is how they're going to win. But they're a resilient bunch. They had their backs against the wall again here today. We're not the better side after 45 minutes, and they will still keep their head down and find a way. They are a resilient bunch. We're seeing that now. But for me, how diverse they're able to play and how they can get wins in multiple ways, playing in different ways, kind of adapting to the game. That is a lot of credit to Luis Enrique, who is obviously managing this bunch and getting them to play at a very, very high level, the best team in the world. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But for me, they don't only do it one way. They can win. They can win defensively. They can win dominating the midfield, or they can win a shootout. And that's what makes them so incredible right now.
The offense, specifically. Désiré Doué is becoming easily one of the best players in the world at this point. He's so young, like 20 years old. And then Dembélé, who has already become such a proven goal scorer. Both of them for club and country are going to be names that you're going to hear for years and years and years. And when you pair them together, along with Kvaratskhelia out of Georgia, It's almost impossible to stop. And then Barcola coming off of the bench eventually, which is what will probably happen.
I remember at the beginning of last season, I was looking at Barcola and saying, man, this kid is so good. He's so young. We're going to see him have so much success. Then Désiré Doué comes in and takes his job and just completely takes his job. But yeah, obviously Barcola started here today, but they have an embarrassment of riches of young French talent that is really continuing to grow week in, week out. These players will not only be playing together at their club at PSG, also be playing together at their country. So they're going to be having so much training together, so much movement together that will be able to really build on their career here at PSG. This is a team that I think we're going to be talking about in a few years as one of the top teams that we've seen in the last decade. And I think it's going to continue because they're so young and they have so many years ahead of them to play together. We might be seeing the beginning of a new dynasty, if you will, in European football with this PSG side.